Good afternoon, everyone. We'll be with you shortly. We're just waiting for a few of our guests to arrive. Good afternoon, everyone. We'll be with you shortly. We're just waiting for a few more guests to roll in. Good afternoon. We're going to get our session started. We're thrilled to have you with us for our tea at 3 on Wednesdays. This week, we're going to talk about something very dear to me about cruising, and with a new cruise partner. I say new, even though we've met quite a few years ago, Shirley, but we'll move on with the great presentation about Oceania Cruises. But first of all, our housekeeping, this session will be recorded. So if you were late arriving, or if you know other people that would love to listen to it, it'll be on the webinar section of our website, which can be accessed at the top screen. And it'll also be sent out to everyone that is listening today, so that you can forward it on to anyone that you know as well. The other thing is that these sessions, like I said, are recorded. And if you have any questions, we'll answer those at the conclusion of the presentation. So please type them in the question box, and we'll be sure to answer them all. And like I said, Shirley and I met a few years ago when one of their beautiful ships, the Regatta, was in Halifax, and I wanted to go see what it was all about. We met and started talking about our clients, and I think that we had a great market for Oceania. And to further that, myself and my business partner, Gary, we went, I guess it was our last travel before COVID hit. We went on an Oceania cruise on the Riviera, a 2-week Caribbean cruise out of Miami. And that was we left actually on Valentine's Day, February 14th of 2020, and did the wonderful cruise. We wanted to see if it was a fit for our clients, and it absolutely was. It is unpretentious, beautiful ships, quality itineraries. And so without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Shirley, who is from Oceania. She's Director of Sales here in Canada. And Shirley Lew, it's all over to you now.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Richard, for the lovely introduction and the opportunity to be part of your Tea at 3 talk. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I hope you are well and getting excited about the easing of travel restrictions, albeit slowly around the world. I'd like to take a moment, of course, to say thank you to all the passionate and dedicated team members at Richard's team at Atlantic Tours for looking after our mutual clients and future guests. And thank you for taking the time to join me today to learn about our little company known for our smaller boutique ships and fabulous itineraries. We're based out of Miami, and as a startup company that was conceived 19 years ago, we are now part of a larger parent company, Norwegian Cruise Holdings, represented by our sister company, Norwegian Cruise Lines, and our ultra luxury sister, Regent Seven Seas. And Oceania Cruises offers the Goldilocks effect of being the in-between, being just a step up from Norwegian. We're smaller and we're a bit more upscale. And for those certainly who want to take the enjoyment of cruising to the next level, but not yet ready to make the leap to the luxury lines. And at the end of this session, I hope that you will be inspired and find Oceania Cruises compatible with your travel style and what you're looking for in your next travel adventure. And this is a great time to be looking at Oceania Cruises, one of the best kept secrets in luxury cruising. Now, some people emerging from the pause in travel may be looking at what they call revenge travel, a surge in travel bookings fueled by travelers seeking to make up for lost time, but others are looking for quite the opposite, slower, more thoughtful journeys that enrich both the traveler and the destination, now referred to as regenerative travel or transformational travel. And if you want to take your love of travel to the next level, but travel differently, more meaningfully, then in the next 30 to 40 minutes, let me share with you the wonderful world of Oceania Cruises. And we're going to walk through the key elements of what makes us different from the other cruise options out there and showcase two incredible itineraries that Atlantic Tours have carefully selected, to the Baltic in the summer of 2023 and the other one closer to home to the Dutch Antilles and the Leeward Islands in the Caribbean in the winter of 23 that the big ships can't get to. So I hope you will sit back, have a cup of tea or coffee, and enjoy the journey. But first, I'd like to share an interesting and funny observation from my summer vacation. In Ontario, as in Nova Scotia, many of us in Canada have found ways to rediscover our own backyard since movement between the provinces was still fairly restricted. There was really no better time to appreciate our beautiful province or country. And if you think about it, people from all over the world come to visit Canada for its natural beauty, landscapes, and diversity. Our natural parks were full this year, driven by the pandemic, with Canadians holidaying closer to home, and folks were having an equally hard time finding space with hotels, Airbnbs, bed and breakfasts, and so forth, right? So the thing was a good luck finding a place. But for our vacation this summer, friends of ours lent us their Airstream, and we spent time in the Thousand Islands, which was pretty cool. My husband had teased me and observed that the inside of the Airstream looked like a ship. And we wondered if that may have been a subconscious longing to go back to sea. I later learned that Airstreams are also affectionately known as land yachts, which may explain the similarities. Now, in our travels, we've been very fortunate to be able to travel quite a bit, even with our young children. They're now young adults. And we stayed in jungle lodges in Costa Rica, old palaces in India, over-the-water bungalow in French Polynesia. And someday I'd love to stay in a glass dome to watch the aurora or the northern lights in Finland or Iceland. And all this to say that whether travelers seek unique lodgings in yurts, in tree houses, in Bedouin tents, in deserts, in the desert under the stars. But that at the end of the day, where you put your head at night matters when you travel. It's your little sanctuary, right? So specifically, what makes Oceania Cruises a unique sanctuary to consider for your next travel plan as you sail and travel to discover different lands and cultures? Now, many of you have sailed on many different lines, and most go back to a favorite one because it's familiar and sometimes it's a little unnerving to get out of your comfort zone. So why Oceania Cruises? And we're going to answer that question in 4 parts, starting with our first feature, small ship luxury. We have a fleet of 7 small to mid-sized ships, which carry no more than 1,250 guests. 4 of our ships are part of the Regatta class series, or known as the R-class ships. Our R-class ships carry fewer than 700 guests. These smaller ships have a very loyal following and are a favorite among our most loyal past guests, and you'll soon learn why in a moment. And then our other 2 ships, Marina and Rivera, make up our Oceania class series, or O-class ships, and they too are on the smaller side compared to the industry average, carrying under 1,300 guests. And these 2 ships offer some of Oceania's most popular features, including hands-on cooking classes in the Culinary Center. Our 7th ship, Vista, represents the next generation of Oceania Cruises, timeless ships, just opened for reservations for her inaugural season starting in April of 2023, carrying no more than 1,200 guests. Now, size matters when you travel, and being nimble, of course, means that we can get closer to the ports or take you deeper into the destination, which are usually inaccessible by larger ships, offering pristine, uncrowded destinations that you can explore with ease. Now, fewer visitors in these special destinations offers a certain exclusivity that you will appreciate. And why is this important? Or why is it an appealing quality? Now, prior to the pandemic, many long-time cruises have outgrown the big ship experiences that they used to love. And now, even more than ever, many no longer want to share their vacation with 5,000 other people, for example, right? Now, another advantage of smaller ships is that you don't have to walk the length of 3 soccer fields to get to your restaurant or back to your cabin or stateroom if you forget a scarf, your glasses, a hat, or your sunscreen. I know this because I'm the one that's usually running back to my room. And some of you watching this can appreciate this, I'm sure. So what does a 700 or a 1200 guest ship look like next to the other ships out there? This image offers a scale of our smaller ships. As you can see, small is the new luxury. But it's not just about the size, though. It's our entire design philosophy. When you board an Oceania cruise ship, it feels like you stepped into a beautiful home or an elegant boutique hotel at sea. Now, this level of detail and spaciousness is evident in our staterooms and suites. Onboard accommodations range from interior staterooms to suites that span the width of the ship, from 150 to 2,000 square feet of living space. Every space is designed to feel residential and welcoming. And that's one of the things I love, that our guests love about sailing on Oceania Cruises, because it feels like home, which is no surprise then. It is well suited for longer voyages. And for those of you who've done land-based escorted holidays, you may recall the daily unpacking and packing depending on the itinerary. I've done many of those. The last one in India and Bhutan, where we had to pack two suitcases for two climates, hot in India and cold in Bhutan. And we were constantly rifling through our clothes and stuff. That was not fun. And it took a lot of time in the evenings. And I was reminded how different it was from cruising. And all this to say that it is a great way to start a relaxing holiday where you just have to arrive, unpack once. And of course, a wonderful way to take your home or your hotel on the road with you, your little sanctuary at sea, no matter how far you are away from home. The only difference, sorry?
Shirley, one of the things I wanted to mention there is the terminology, and most of anyone that's cruised with me on Norwegian is our regular partner, which is an excellent product, and certainly you've introduced the food quality of Oceania to Norwegian. But we're used to, I always book our guests. The only cabins that we hold on those ships are the midship balconies. And so I just wanted to remind people that on Oceania, we call the balcony a veranda, and the accommodations are lovely. So when you see a veranda shot, that would be typical of what we would normally use when we travel. We have a lot of other options, which you'll talk about, and I don't want to interrupt because you have a lot to cover, but I did want to mention that because it is a lovely terminology for your ships.
Thank you, Richard. And you're right. Many of our staterooms are very spacious for that reason. We have less people or guests on board, right? Of course,
one of the things I found quite interesting, sorry to interrupt again, but I'm not used to seeing a tub on a ship. So, on the Riviera that we were on, our veranda room had the shower, but it also had a tub, which, you're not used to when you cruise.
So true. Well, and the other thing too, the difference, when you're sailing on Oceania Cruises or when you use the ship as your hotel or your home, is that you've got the personal space and the fact that you have a company and a team of attentive staff members looking after you, right? As you vacation, you don't have to worry about cooking or making your own bed. And
I should mention that not all accommodations on Oceania have the tubs either. As things are changing and progressing, there's been some changes, but that was one of the things I first noticed when I was on.
And you're right, Richard. We found that many of our guests prefer the walk-in stand-up showers. So there are some of our ships do not have bathtubs except for the suites as well. But if it's something that you like, absolutely, we do have staterooms that still have those bathtubs. But you're right. It's surprising to see the full bathtub on our old class ships if you are booked on the veranda category. Now, as you can see here too, your rooms on board at sea is exactly that. It's very comfortable and very well appointed. Each comes with our tranquility beds that promises a good night's sleep across the fleet. And unlike the R class or the O class ships, as you can see here, Vista does not have any ocean view or inside staterooms. The room category on the Vista starts with the French veranda category, or what we call a Romeo and Juliet balcony. If you've done a river cruising, you're familiar with those. What it is, it's a small balcony with a floor to ceiling door that opens, turning the entire stateroom into an open or that deck to be an open air deck. And it's really amazing. And unique to Vista are also 6 veranda staterooms with concierge service designed for the solo traveler. So this is, again, we recognize there are a lot of travelers that travel solo. Ship amenities, of course, certainly don't let the size of our ships fool you, though. Despite the difference in the size compared to the mega ships out there, we offer all the amenities that you enjoy when you cruise, including nightly and evening entertainment in the show lounge. We don't have the large size casinos of the big ships, but we do have a James Bond style or Monte Carlo style casinos, elegant bars, late night karaoke, the sports deck, fitness center, etc.
Well, one of my favorite spots was the lounge for the orchestra or the band at night that covers up everything. But my favorite was after everyone else went to bed, and I found some people stay up later than others, but I love the piano bar where I'd have my cocktail before dinner, and then I'd come back after dinner, and there might be Billy Joel night or Elton John night, and the piano players playing. You still have conversations. I really, really enjoyed that.
Absolutely. And there's music everywhere on board Oceania Cruises, including when you come back from a days of exploration. It's not uncommon for us to have a 4-piece string quartet playing, to welcome you back to the ship, just to soothe the all the excitement before settling into the next adventure with food. So thank you for mentioning that. I kind of miss that piano bar as well, and they take requests, by the way. And of course, on every voyage, you will find special guests as well that we invite: speakers, subject matter experts, biologists, historians, botanists, authors, thought leaders, to prepare you for the full experience depending on the itinerary. Because, of course, we all know travel is indeed the best education, but knowledge of the destination before you visit gives it many perspectives beyond what we see with our eyes, right? So you can call this our version of TED Talks, and it is we have a speaker on every voyage. And of course, having a sleek fleet with beautiful and upscale furnishings is a plus, but the heart and soul of Oceania Cruises, of every voyage, is truly our warm and caring staff members on board. And if we look at the surveys of past guests, we have found that our itineraries, our culinary reputation, and the ship size to be the top 3 reasons why guests would pick Oceania Cruises for the first time. But with a 60% repeat guest rate, our service and caring culture on board, this is truly the number 1 reason why many of our guests return.
Well,
and
Shirley, that's
yes.
one of the other things that stood out to me. And I'm kind of a social person, so I talked to lots of guests on board and got to meet. And a lot of them had done the other lines that you've talked about, but it was interesting to say once they came to Oceania, this is my 13th, or this is my 7th, or, it was amazing how many people, once they found Oceania, that was the place that they stayed. So that to me was a great testimonial as I'm meeting these folks. And then I can't get over your crew to guest ratio.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to talk about. If you take the example of the O-class ships, we have 1,250 guests on the Marina and Rivera. And for the O-class ships, we have 800 crew members looking after 1,250 guests. And if you look at a service ratio perspective, that's 1 staff member for every 1.5 guest, which is pretty high score from any service metric, right? And this means that we can focus on the many important details that make a difference that the larger ships with more guests may overlook. Again, because we have more staff looking after fewer guests. And if we move along, the second pillar of Oceania Cruises is our commitment to serving the most amazing food at sea that rivals the finest Michelin-starred restaurants ashore. And the fulfillment of this commitment really starts with our team, our culinary team. Remember the 800 crew members on the Marina and Rivera? 400 out of the 800, that's 50% of the staff on board, are dedicated to the culinary experience of our guests. Oceania Cruises is known as the foodie cruise line. So if you appreciate amazing dining options and our adventures with food, our passion for for food is truly ingrained in our DNA from day one, because we believe that food is such a big part of the discovery of travel and the fact that it brings people together. And if
Well,
you
I think
cook at home,
when I first got involved with the Oceania, it was the best culinary on the open sea, and certainly did not disappoint me. I'm a foodie, and I loved it. It's the challenge is keeping, still being able to fit into your pants by the end of the cruise.
that is so true. But you know what? For someone who you like choice, I love the fact that there's no bad choice on the menu. And I would love for the opportunity, when you get to a restaurant to say, surprise me, because it's going to be good anyway, right? And so
Absolutely.
But one of the things that make us really good at what we do when it comes to the culinary side as well is the fact that we spend more on food per guest than any other cruise lines, and it's important because if I think about what Jacques Pepin said, especially if you cook at home, I love what Jacques said. He once said, and it's true. He said, if it doesn't matter how talented the chef is, a lousy tomato is a lousy tomato no matter what you do with it, right? Which is why we place so much importance on the freshness. We spend more per guest, as mentioned. We are very fussy. That means we are constantly sourcing our ingredients locally. Fruits, vegetables, and dairy are always sourced throughout the cruise. And for those who are making conscious decisions to eat less meat, for example, and you want to include more plant-based foods, Oceania Cruises is leading the way with exquisite plant-based dishes on all our menus. And our special attention in this domain also means that we also have options for guests who have special dietary needs, such as gluten-free options and so forth. So you could say that we are also a wellness-focused company. And on board, we have multiple open seating specialty restaurants that give you the freedom to dine when and with whom you want, all at no additional charge, because we believe that good food should be shared, so you never ever have to pay more for better food or service. You'll also be happy to know that we have no formal nights. Country club casual is what we recommend for dinner attire, very relaxed. And of course, we have new dining and restaurant concepts on board Avista. You can be the first to experience our legendary cuisine, so sought after that we have guests already booked, of course, almost 2 years in advance to enjoy them. And we hope that you will too.
I'm happy, Shirley, that you're trying to lure people already thinking about the Vista, because we're not on the Vista on the two that we're doing in 23. But hopefully after 23, we'll be on the new Vista on one of their itineraries.
Absolutely. And you know what, no matter what, and the point is, no matter which ship you pick, you can be assured that you can get the consistent quality throughout the fleet on all the restaurants when it comes to the dining component, right? And for those with more sophisticated taste buds, or if you're adventurous with food, new experiences, and you want to take your culinary journey to the next level, La Reserve that you see here is found on Marina and Rivera, is our ultimate expression of our love for food and wine. We offer 4 different wine pairing dinners, including a 6-course pairing with 6 unique vintages of Dom Perignon champagne with incredible combinations of flavor and taste, in a setting that can only accommodate up to 24 guests. And unlike the other dining venues, La Reserve does have an additional cost, but I have to say it is probably one of the most unique experiences that you'll never forget. And be sure to reserve your spot if you select any of the itineraries on the O-Class ships, which is actually featured on the Baltic cruise and on the Marina and Rivera.
Well, I was on the Riviera and
yes.
Certainly walked by this space, and we didn't pre-book it, so we didn't get to do it. But the price was still reasonable, and I was willing. The Dom Perignon one was still available, but I was looking more for the regular wines than the champagne. But it was certainly nice and very visible to see this space and lovely.
Well, I have to say though, with 7 courses, if you're not taking the 6-course Dom Perignon, all I can say is pace yourself. For someone who does not drink wine all the time, by the 4th course, oh yes, you've had too much wine.
Well, and one of the nice things I want to point out there too is that unlike a and other ships where you get a nice house wine with your dinner included if you decide to do a package or those kind of things. One of the things that stood out to me is the choice in wines, just your regular wine offering. There was six great choices every night. If you like a blend, if you like a Cabernet, or if you're on the white spectrum, you want a Pinot, or, you weren't just getting offered one option with your package. You were getting great selections based on what you really like. And so to me, it was great fun to try things that I would not normally have tried throughout my cruise. So really stood out.
Yeah, we do have quite a large wine selection as well. And we also include non-alcoholic wines for those who want to have those selections. So certainly let us know and we'll make sure to stock them on your cruise.
Well, one of my favorite continued to be the ice cream of the day. The Humphrey Slocum, I think, was what they referred to it as, and it was a different flavor each day of homemade ice cream. And I said every day I found myself rushing during the lunch time to find out what's the ice cream of today.
Oh yeah, and they're all made from scratch, Richard, and you know that, right? You know which flavor I'm curious to try? They called it Elvis, the fat years. I thought it was the name was cute.
I think that was offered. I think we tried that one day. I can't remember what flavor that was, but it was still. I mean, it became fun. I mean, we had other desserts as well, but to have a little side of it was always
nice. Yes, I'll always have room for dessert. That's for sure. Okay, I found another kindred spirit with who has a sweet tooth. And the other thing I wanted to mention too, instead of tea at 3, no, our guests actually do enjoy. We do have afternoon tea. Enjoyed in the Horizons Lounge every day with panoramic views, again served every day at 4 o'clock with delightful scones, sandwiches and pastries and selection of beautiful teas. It's a wonderful social time of the day and a nice welcome snack just before dinner, all complimentary of course and part of your vacation on board Oceania Cruises.
It's a nice offering, and what I found is I was once again very impressed that for the Canadians they had Clamato juice. So I was having my afternoon Caesar on the sun deck.
Very nice. And that's just it, right? Whatever you feel like, whatever time, is very relaxed. You can be as busy as you want or as relaxed as you want, and always your favorite snack on hand. I'm a snacker, so that's really good. And of course, at Oceania Cruises too, on the subject of food, we also believe that to truly appreciate your food, you have to touch it and play with it and create with it, right? And if you like playing with your food and experimenting with recipes, then you're going to love this. The world's first culinary center at sea, available on our Marina and Rivera and Vista. These hands-on cooking classes where you will roll up your sleeves, you put on an apron and a chef's hat, you learn about the regional foods, you'll be visiting and create local cuisine or even signature dishes from our restaurants so you can recreate and enjoy them at home with friends and family, or even make pasta from scratch. Some of these classes can also take you ashore to the local markets to challenge your senses, to experience the destinations through the eyes of a chef and certainly through your taste buds, right? I love cooking and I'm always open to trying any new food at least once. I'm also always curious about what the locals sell and eat by, and that's why I make it a point to visit the local markets whenever I can. And it's so true, your taste buds have memory. So it's no surprise then when we crave comfort foods or certain types of food, recreating them transports us back to the places and experiences. So it's like tasting the destination all over again, right?
And this facility you're seeing here in the picture, it was nice. I didn't go in and actually cook on my 2-week vacation, but I walked by to see other people taking classes, and it's a beautiful facility. It really is.
And one advice, so if you're going to do this, please come hungry because you're going to eat what you make, right? So again, but it's a lot of fun. It's very social as well. So moving on, so we've got small luxurious ships. We've got amazing food where every choice on the menu is a good choice, but it's truly the third pillar that I feel truly that sets us apart from the others, and that is offering unique itineraries that appeal to the experienced and curious travelers, or if you're a destination collector. Our itineraries range from 7 to 180 days around the world. We visit over 100 countries. We call upon over 400 ports of call. Our ships are constantly moving, so it makes it very easy to combine multiple voyages. As mentioned earlier, our smaller ships are really perfectly sized to explore the world. Admittedly, we are not the only cruise line to go to many of these destinations, but here's why I think we do it better. I mentioned earlier that we have a fleet of ships that are perfectly sized to explore the world. There are many of these lines that call upon these destinations, and you'll find that our itinerary is very port intensive, and we have very few days at sea. So designed for the active traveler and the curious traveler. In all our itineraries, you're going to find a balance between the famous ports like Monte Carlo and less common ports like Cinque Terre, or beautiful village or fishing communities that are really difficult to even reach even by land. And in destinations where we have longer stays in a port like this 14-day from Istanbul to Rome with an overnight in the beginning of the voyage and 3 full days in Jerusalem, or if you're at a destination that is really close to sites that cannot be missed, take advantage certainly of our pre or post or mid-cruise overland program that allow you the time and opportunity to go deeper inland and do more. Like the Baltic journey we will show you in a moment. And it's not uncommon to see overnights in the beginning or the end of the voyage or mid-cruise. We coordinate the logistics of travel from the port to the sites and back to our ships without worrying about, of course, about making it back on time. Our land partners share very similar philosophy on smaller groups, and with our Go Local and mid-cruise tours program, this kind of in-depth learning and time can give travelers a profound connection with the destination, its landscape, and certainly its people. And with 95% of our guests over the age of 55, we are affectionately known as the cruise line for grown-ups. We attract the foodies, we attract travelers who are on the constant quest for authentic experiences, we attract guests who want to live well, and that includes traveling well, and curious travelers who are the lifelong learners, the restless adventurers, fascinated by everything, and will keep traveling and discovering all their lives. And if this describes you, then you're going to be a great company.
Well, and one of the things that really stood out to me, Shirley, is we did an excursion on every, so we were 14 nights on the Riviera, and we did something on every port of call, just because there was a lot of islands I was hitting for the first time, which was wonderful to get out and get a taste for those. But one of the things that really stood out to me was the quality of your guides. And I think I know that very well after 35 years. That's what we specialize in, is providing narration and guides, not only in Halifax, but throughout Atlantic Canada. When we bring people here, we like to showcase all of those hidden gems and wonders. But that really stood out to me. And a lot of your groups are small group as opposed to full-size motor coach. So some islands we were on full-size motor coach, but once again, reduced capacity and very, very comfortable. But a lot of the tours that we had were a much smaller group, and we got out, rather than just driving around pretty much everywhere as we went, we got out to sample something or see something or touch something, which was very, very noticeable to me. So I just like to point that out to everyone.
Thank you for that observation. And you're right, being on a smaller ship by default also creates a very social environment, not only to make those new lasting friends, but our group too tend to be smaller for that reason. And you're right, no tours are created equal, right? So moving along, if now that you're going to love the sanctuary at sea on board, and you also can look forward to what's cooking when you come home from your day's adventures, no matter which itinerary you select on Oceania Cruises. Now, I will reveal an important but surprising feature of Oceania Cruises, and that is our commitment to also bring unrivaled value for our guests' travel investment or travel dollars. Now, some folks save for years to go on a trip, and some may go a few times a year, but no matter how frequently you travel, when you sail with us, rest assured that you will not be nickel and dime during your voyage. The fact of the matter is there are some great offers out there where it is very inexpensive to get on a cruise, but everything you're going to use and enjoy are all extra and they all add up. And yes, from time to time, this line gets really blurred when premium lines begin to offer amenities, when they have promotions, and sometimes they don't. So sometimes it gets really confusing. It's not always there. But on Oceania Cruises, we have a very simple but wonderfully straightforward proposition. All the important elements that make up a vacation are already included. Specialty restaurants, unlimited internet, still and sparkling water, your soft drinks and specialty coffees and teas, your smoothies, your milkshakes, your ice cream that Richard was talking about. Essentially anything that's non-alcoholic is all included. This is the core inclusion of the cruise, and this does not change even if you just look at the cost of the cruise alone. And additionally, as part of the Oceania Cruises experience, we include Life Choice package, where return airfare with transfers are included from Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, and over 20 different cities throughout the US, regardless of the season of travel. We also offer competitively priced premium economy or business class air upgrades with our airline partners. For example, for a limited time, you can travel in premium economy for only $199 Canadian per direction on select international flights on our 2023 Voyages, or guests joining us from secondary cities like Halifax pay only a flat rate to connect to the major hubs where routing is available. And with Life Choice, you have a choice of shore excursions where you can select from a wide range of excursions that you saw earlier, or you can choose the beverage package, which includes unlimited beer, wine, or champagne by the glass for lunch and dinner. And if you choose this option, you can also opt to include unlimited premium liquors and spirits for only a small fee of $20 US per person per day. And you can do this on board. And if you don't drink, the shipboard credit is always a flexible option that offers you the flexibility to do a little bit of everything. Life Choice is included on all voyages and for all guests in all stateroom categories. We also know that many of you have loyalty programs where you can redeem for free flights, or if Air Canada has a seat sale, you can actually unbundle the fares with Oceania Cruises if you don't need our air or you don't want the Life Choice options. This ability to unbundle, I have to say, allows you to truly see the value of the cruise alone. And our unique upper premium space attracts the premium cruisers who appreciate the added inclusions, as well as the luxury guests who appreciate that they can still receive the high level of service and the fine cuisine they expect, but always at an extraordinary value. And of course, after a 2-year hiatus, for some maybe even 3 from travel, many travelers are looking to splurge on themselves and to make their next trip even more special. So this is why we're seeing quite a lot of booking, the booking levels that we've never seen before, with the pent-up demand fueled by the extended pause in travel. And with our smaller ships, it also means that we don't have the kind of inventory of rooms that the big ships have, which means there is no better time to book while you have your choice of itinerary and stateroom category when you reserve your spot early.
Well, that's a good point there, Shirley. Is normally people, companies like mine aren't necessarily booking space on Oceania, because you almost need your group together and decided where you want to go before you put your request out, because the space goes so quickly. And you and I have talked about this, and so this is a test run with Oceania for us, and feel very confident that it's a great match for our customers. So you've met me and come up with a strategy to make this work for Richard and Atlantic Tours. So my hope is that in the future we'll decide together, my traveling friends and family that become now, and we'll decide in the future so that we're all ready for when the launch happens, because often space goes so quickly.
Very true. And you picked 2 beautiful itineraries to start, and we're going to see that in a moment. But I also want to assure everyone that, we know that the world has gone through a lot of change over the last 2 years, and no one wants to travel with uncertainty, right? To that point, you're going to be happy to know that our deposits are fully refundable, typically from around this 4 to 6 month mark, depending on the voyage before departure, offering a no strings attached, no risk proposition to try something new, and certainly take your love of travel to and cruising to the next level. So I highly recommend reserving a spot soon on Oceania Cruises if this is something that you that fits with what you're looking for. And unlike other sectors in the travel industry, cruise line companies are regulated by the CDC, or Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This means that we are subject to a much higher level of transparency and regulation than any other sectors like hotels or airlines. And as a company, we are operating with 100% vaccinated crew and guests, along with a multi-layered safety protocol and equipment to keep our guests and communities that we visit safe. And since I have to say, since these protocols are constantly evolving, this is where it is so vital to work with Richard's team, who know us well and certainly guide. They can guide you accordingly.
Well, and the other thing I want to point out is, once again, and I don't like to use the word buffet, but you have all your restaurant options and the word has slipped me. What's the name of that facility? It's the
Terrace Cafe.
Yes, the Terrace Cafe. And so with that, unlike any other experience long before COVID, when you go there, there's so many choices that are cooked fresh for you. It's not, you're not going through a buffet. But the other thing that really stood out to me is that you're not handling the food. So I was very impressed that all of your stations, someone is serving you. So you may arrive with your plate, but in essence, they are going to serve you. And like I said, this was already going on way ahead of the game. Unlike the other options out there in the world, you were already serving us as opposed to us touching the utensils and all of that kind of stuff. Someone is behind those stations putting it on your plate. So to me, I really wanted to point that out even prior to COVID, that those things were being done and constantly cleaning and all of that stuff. It was an amazing experience. And like I said, to me, the food experience there wasn't like a typical buffet. And like I said, I hate to use that because it's truly not. Everything is being refreshed or prepared for you in most cases exactly as you're going. And it's a lovely dining experience, not unlike the regular restaurants on board.
You're so right, Richard. The word buffet does conjure up a certain image, right? And yes, thank you for pointing that out. We've always had a touchless buffet concept meal service from day one. So when a lot of the hoteliers or restaurants or resorts or cruise lines were pivoting to see how they can look at this meal service altogether, there was that shift wasn't too much of a shift because we've always been doing that, right? So cruise lines have absolutely stepped up and gone over and beyond to look at all these aspects of dining. Again, we've already had this, we've had this down pat from day one. So we're just going to get better at this, and it's going to be even more enjoyable for our guests when they come on board. So, but on the subject of safety and protocols and all of that, of course, all this pre-travel expectations and life on board is always changing. What we're seeing today is pertinent if you're going to be traveling today, and if you want to have the latest, we have our SailSafe page for you to look at. Now, that we are a little better acquainted with the value and the quality that you can expect from Oceania Cruises on our smaller luxurious ships and almost all-inclusive offerings. I want to jump right into the two featured group departures hosted by our partners at Atlantic Tours. In this beautiful itinerary in the Baltic region, featured in our new summer 2023 collection just earlier this month, this is a beautiful 10-day trip from Stockholm to Oslo. This voyage is a wonderful overview of the Baltic region, taking in 8 countries in 10 days. You will have the opportunity to visit Sweden, Estonia, Finland, Latvia, Germany, Denmark, Sweden, and Russia, with an overnight stay in St. Petersburg. And for those returning to the region again, there are a number of specialty tours which will appeal to you, like our Go Local and Culinary Discovery tours that take you beyond the major sites to immerse in the destination even more fully. And if you compare a cruise of the same length on another line, you're going to find that we, as you can see here, we cover more destinations during our stay, and we spend more time in port with very few days at sea. I always recommend that our guests do a pre or post night stay to enjoy Stockholm and Oslo while you're there, and I believe that Richard may have plans to include the pre and post as part of the group package, or they are available upon request.
Well, anyone that knows me knows that I don't like arriving the day that we're going to board. So I always like to do a pre, so that if there's any surprises, with our air, that we don't run into trouble. And then the goal is in Oslo is that, we're not really seeing much there. So staying on for a couple of days is certainly in the agenda. But I also like to point out that doesn't have to happen if that doesn't work for you. But when I do a hosted trip, generally, we'll all leave from a gateway together, either Halifax or we'll join up together at the gateway in Toronto or Montreal and head over, so that we're arriving together and departing together. Because why our hosted trips are doing so well is that, the fact that we're all together, and we have a lot of solo travelers as well that like to do these kind of things. So it's a great option for them, and they've got someone with them throughout.
Agree, and you don't want to miss usually when we're embarking, we arrive at the embarkation city. It's such a shame to miss that city because you don't stay very long, right? So I'm glad you're going to have the pre and post for this itinerary. And
right now this cruise is going to be up, or it's up on our website as we speak, because you and I were moving quickly to have everything ready for today. But the pre and post may be added later. But in essence, right now, the most important thing is getting the cruise committed, and then we can add those other variables after.
Absolutely. And of course, the highlight for many is St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg is one of the northernmost metropolises in the world. You're going to need a Russian visa, of course, when you visit Russia. But when you embark on any of our tours, the visitors' visas are included. But where do you start, right? But with 2 full days here, you can do a lot. Start with the highlights of the city. For first timers, a visit to the legendary Hermitage Museum is a must. And for those who want to know, this museum was founded in 1764 as a private museum of Catherine the Great, to which she and her closest courtiers had access. But today it's Russia's largest art museum that houses an astounding collection of art. So no surprise, it is not only immense in its size, but it is said that even if you spend 1 minute looking at each exhibit, it would take you 11 years to look at the entire collection of the museum. Now, we don't have 11 years, but we do have a 4-hour tour that takes us to the key exhibits from Rembrandt to Vermeer. So make sure to include also some other excursions while you're here, including an evening classical music at the Palace, which is an included tour in the Olive Choice. And for performances at the Hermitage Museum, you can purchase special tickets for that. And as well, every year from the end of May to the beginning of July, night never completely falls or doesn't get completely dark in the former capital. The White Nights Festival is an annual summer festival in St. Petersburg. It celebrates this phenomenon, and the whole city is abuzz with excitement, and there's lots of stuff going on. The atmosphere is really magical. There are really no fixed dates for the White Nights. They simply just correspond to the few weeks during which the sun only sets 3 or 4 hours a day, and not even that, not even completely, roughly from the end of May to mid-July. So this departure in June means that you will be traveling during the White Night season, if you will. In the evenings, there are some excursions as well. During your stay in St. Petersburg, you can enjoy a romantic evening by combining a visit to the Hermitage Museum with a classical music concert, or spend your evening reliving the luxury of the 18th century Russian imperial court in one of the most amazing royal palaces. There's a lot for you to look at. And this region also has one of the most interesting culinary scenes. Join our chefs on one of our tours to taste their famous vodka and caviar, and maybe even take some home to enjoy with friends. Next up, for those who prefer to travel in the winter of 2023, but stay a little closer to home, here's a 10-day round trip from Oranjestad to Oranjestad, Aruba to Aruba, visiting the ABC Islands of the Dutch Antilles, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, and the Leeward Islands of Grenada, the Spice Island, St. Lucia, Guadeloupe, Dominica, Barbados, and St. Vincent. The Caribbean, I have to say, will always be a Canadian favorite due to the proximity and frequency of flights from Toronto, but the Caribbean is very, very different from a small ship perspective. I love that you will get to spend time in the smaller islands like Dominica. This is a very green and verdant island to enjoy it in the natural hot springs and waterfalls. Here you can also enjoy a hands-on chocolate making experience at the island's oldest estate, where you can also discover unexpected archaeological treasures excavated on the grounds. Here at the chocolate farm, you can create your own chocolate candy, infuse them with your favorite flavors. And yes, you will get to sample the candies after you've created them with the dark chocolate. And on this itinerary, you will visit the 9 different islands, each so unique, you would have to hard time deciding which one would be a favorite.
Well, and a good thing to point out, Shirley, this is on the Sienna, so there's only 685 people as opposed to even the 1250 that's on the Marina, which are both good sized ships. But the other thing that I would like to point out here, if you look at the time in port, I don't think Shirley's mentioned this, but unlike a lot of the other lines, there's more time in port traditionally on these itineraries. If you look from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. or from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., most times you're not getting that much time in port.
Absolutely. And yes, the whole idea is that you're not rushing back, right? One of the things I'm sure as cruisers that people don't like about cruising is that you don't get enough time in port. So the fact that you do, it's great. You can take your time and you don't have to worry about the long lines getting back on the ship as well, right? And I like this too, because you're going to have a few exciting first few days, but you also have a day at sea to soak it all in before you disembark in Aruba, where you can extend your stay for another week or continue onwards to Lisbon. The Sirena continues on to Lisbon on another 14-day segment, and they will call upon Spain and Portugal with 6 days to relax at sea when we do the crossing. So you could essentially continue.
That's a good thing to point out there, Shirley. I often say to our guests, unlike the other ships, which are doing back to back to back the same itinerary, with Oceania, often you're getting only one itinerary of a specific destination, because these cruise ships do a whole cycle. And so some people are on for the 180 days and some people are on for 50 days. And so, as I said, even on the Baltic cruise, when we had ended in Oslo, we could also have continued on to England for another 10 days doing, Norway and all of the fjords there. But, as a company, we need to choose something that works for most people. But I mean, these itineraries continue, and they all have different names. So if you're doing the 30-day one, it has a different name. So we won't go into that detail here because we could certainly spend hours talking about all the pluses of Oceania. But I see that we're about 10 minutes left here, so I don't want to hold up, but I'd like to point out things that are important for our guests to know.
And thank you, Richard. There's certainly a lot to show, but I'm going to jump right into the next one. And while talking about the itineraries, as you can see, some of our itineraries can be very port intensive, and it is likely that you're going to want to explore every port, do more tours. And yes, you have time to explore on your own as well, with plenty to see and do. But if you want to do more tours, I thought I'd share some useful information to make the most out of your experience and even save you some money if you do choose to go on the group departures. As you know, we have 3 excursions each with the Olive Choice, or 600 US to spend per stateroom. You may want to consider the unlimited passport collection. It's a flat rate for this pass. This pass or passport is a highly effective cost-saving option if you plan to do many excursions, where it will offer you 40% off a la carte prices. You can pack in as a pass holder, I should say, you just pay a small supplement fee to join the specialty tours, like, for example, an excursion to Moscow by the high-speed train. You can pre-book the excursions you want 365 days prior to departure, which I highly recommend. You can always change them when you meet new friends, and if you want to change the tours, as long as they're still available, even on the day of departure. Every voyage has a flat rate for this pass. So it's a bit early right now. I did check in to see what the cost of a pass would be in 23, but it is definitely worth it if you want to plan on packing in as many excursions as possible, because you have so many things to see, right? And you can use, by the way, you can also use the shipboard credit, the Old Life Choice, to purchase this pass, because again, it's going to save you 40% off a la carte options. And if you don't want to pack your days with, excursions, and you want to leave some room for exploring on your own, you might want to consider the Your World collection. This is another great option where you just need to book a few more tours and you can enjoy 25% off extra tours. The best part is that your 3 free Old Life Choice excursions can count towards the minimum that you need. And every voyage is different. Once you know which one suits your pace, pre-booking those tours early is key, as popular ones do get booked up really fast on the smaller groups, and wait lists on tours are really, really hard to clear. What this does is also it eliminates a lot of the decision making when you're there. All you have to do is enjoy breakfast and just show up, right? And the list of
that's the one I did, Shirley, is I did and I don't think it's popped up on our screen there. I did the World collection and saved 25% on my tours because I had planned to go to every port. So once again, it was a matter of, did I want the unlimited collection or so I went with this one, and it really worked out for me, and it gave me the savings.
Absolutely. So, you decide, which one is going to suit your pace better, right? And the list of excursions is actually available for viewing on our website if you want to see what's out there. And you might even come across some wine that you might want to buy along the way. With Oceania Cruises, you can bring up to 6 bottles of personal wine on board per voyage to enjoy in the privacy of your room. We always have wine glasses and bottle openers in the chiller in the room. Again, this is to be enjoyed in the privacy of your stateroom.
Well, the good thing to point out here is any other cruise that you go on, they will confiscate your wine and give it to you the night before you leave. So it's very different to be able to bring wine on board with you.
Yeah, I think it's a little unfair because sometimes you go to some places with beautiful vineyards and you want to enjoy them, right? And they take them away. So in this case, you can actually get to enjoy them. The only time we charge a corkage fee is when you take it out to the restaurant. I believe it's $30 US to do that, but many of our guests enjoy them, on your private deck or your.
Now, mind you, your wine is so lovely on board with so many choices. It's certainly not necessary. There's no need to, and if they go with the wine package or add the full open bar package for the additional 20 when they get on board, because I just did the math and say I'm going to have a Manhattan or 2 before I go to dinner, and certainly at the pool deck at some point I may want a Caesar in the afternoon. You do the math, well, that's really one drink in most restaurants here at home. So for me, for $20 to be able to not have to think about it again was a perfect add-on. But if you're not a drinker, that wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, which is why I love the Old Life Choice, right? Because you get to pick the option that is meaningful to you, the option that you're going to use the most. So I'm sure we all can find our favorite. And moving forward, if you cannot decide on which itinerary or what have you, our grand voyages are pretty cool as well. And because what we're finding, and I thought Richard and I talked about this to see whether we want to show this or not, but this is to show that many of our guests are no longer want to stay at home, and they're looking at grand voyages. We're seeing such great increase of an interest in grand voyages, which essentially are voyages that are longer than 21 days. I mentioned earlier that we've never seen this kind of interest that we've encountered on these longer trips. If you are short on time or you have time and you're a destination collector, this example of a 56-day grand voyage for summer of 20, summer 23 collection is a great way to cover many regions without having to get on a plane each time. Long haul flight, right? Especially if you want to go back to a neighboring region. It's so much shorter than our 180-day round the world cruise, and it allows you to return in time for Christmas with this departure. It also, again, means that you don't have to fly every time. We've added more grand voyages in our 2023 collection to meet the demand of this kind of travel. And if you're interested in our 24 around the world cruise, it will be available next in early 2022. Do talk to Richard and his team for more details to get a sneak peek before everyone else for sure. I wish we had more time to show you more, including more exotic itineraries that our small ships can go to. But I hope this has opened up a whole world of different options for you as we can access more destinations. And for winter season, consider the Aruba Caribbean itinerary. We also have some beautiful ones for Japan, Southeast Asia, South Africa, South America with Antarctica. But we certainly, at the end of the day, we hope that you will reach out to Richard's team to start browsing and planning, and hopefully join the Baltic or the Caribbean cruise.
Well, and I'd like to point out there that we can book any cruise anytime for anyone. We're presenting our 2 hosted trips, but anyone that wants to travel on Oceania, we can look after any itinerary for them.
Thank you. And we hope that you'll take this opportunity to enjoy the special thank you, $100 US for any bookings made within 2 weeks of the presentation. And on the group departures, gratuities are already included. This is a fantastic inclusion, since gratuities are extra normally at 32 US per stateroom per day, or 46 US per day for the suites. On a 10-day voyage, this represents up to 460 US in savings, almost 600 Canadian in your pocket to put towards the unlimited passport collection pass, for example, or you can spend it all on caviar if you like. And as a, sorry, Richard?
No, I was just going to say, and the thing to keep in mind there is that the pricing that I'm giving you is Canadian dollars. So these amenities are US dollars, because when you're on board any cruise, the currency on the cruise is US dollars. So
yes. And to wrap up, I was just thinking about that this just before jumping on this presentation. I have spent 10 years in my almost 30 years in this business doing travel consulting with clients, and I appreciate that there are many choices out there, but we do hope that you will, clients, those watching will certainly think of Oceania Cruises for all the reasons that we shared today. But no matter what you decide, we all agree that this past year has certainly made us think about how we want to travel differently and what that would look like, right? And after a 2-year hiatus from traveling, people are definitely treating themselves, splurging a little to make those special. I'm sure we've all started making lists. Mine keeps getting longer, and there's no question that having a personal travel advisor on your side to look after the details is key. Since there's only so much time to do so many things, I believe that we should all strive to eat well, live well, and definitely travel well. In the meantime, we can let the world slowly reopen and look forward to a well-deserved vacation. And on that note, I hope everyone enjoyed traveling with me and Richard through the featured itineraries. We cannot wait to see you on board, either for your first adventure or your 10th. But in the meantime, please do take care, be safe, and be well. I'm going to hand this over to you, Richard.
Well, thank you, Shirley. An amazing presentation. And you would have been on time if I didn't continue to interject, but everyone that knows me knows I always have lots to say as well. But thank you very much for introducing us to Oceania Cruises. I always say, when you're looking at pricing and those kind of things, always look at it from the perspective of what's included. So to me, like the river cruising, often there's a sticker shock when you see the prices. I don't believe that is true with Oceania, but what you're seeing with the O-Life pricing is air included. We may or may not remove the air at this point, but we'll look at that as far as when you book. But the great thing that I love about it is all of the inclusions already. So when you start adding up, with the cruise lines that include 5 for free, I always have to remind everyone, you need to pay the gratuities on the specialty restaurant. You need to pay the gratuities on the amenity package. All of those kind of things layer and add up to the price. So when you do a true comparison, you need to think about that. And like I said, I wanted to personally go and see what Oceania was all about. And after 2 weeks, I absolutely drank the Kool-Aid. I thought it was an amazing experience. I just want to let people know I paid the same as anyone else. I mean, I was not hosted by you, Shirley, or anything. I wanted to go and experience the cruise to see if it was a right fit for our audience, and completely believe it is. Not that all the other cruises that we do, there's a client for everything. So to me, the larger ships are absolutely wonderful. I enjoy the experience. I know a lot of people listening today have done the river cruises with me. Once again, a different experience. And this is a top-notch, wonderful experience, quality, and look forward to going. And once again, these are some of my bucket list items, so I'm going with or without everyone. So it's one of those things that we're going to go on the Baltic cruise, and the Aruba cruise will be hosted by either myself or one of our other tour managers as well at this point. So keep that in mind, and please let us know. And you might as well enjoy the $100 onboard credit by booking early. So you have a couple of weeks to do that. You saw on the slide that up until November 3rd, I think is what you had listed there, Shirley. We're fine with that. I see a question. I want to get to that. So let's see what the question is. Technical question about volume. So I apologize that I didn't look at that earlier. Apologies for that. The other thing is the next webinar, and I somehow moved the slide there. Our next webinar, Tea at 3 on Wednesday, is Thanksgiving in New York, one of our annual trips that does really well. That's November 3rd at 3 p.m. And then we have the iconic Christmas markets on November the 24th at 3 p.m. And for those that haven't realized, we have a special on right now as far as if you attended today's webinar, and if you attend the other 2 webinars that we're doing this year before the end of the year, you're getting a ballot for each webinar you attend for a chance to win a $500 travel credit with Atlantic Tours. So one other good reason for tuning into these, and remember, this was recorded, it'll be sent to you. You can forward it off to anyone that might be interested in Oceania Cruises. And once again, always sitting on our website under our webinars to re-listen later. Shirley, I know that we've gone a little bit over time. Thank you very much for being our guest today. And I thank our audience for being so loyal and listening every week.
Thank you, Richard, for having me on your Tea at 3.
Tea at 3. So we'll see everyone soon, and look forward to the phone calls to get our names down for this wonderful Baltic experience and the Aruba cruise as well.